Hey, welcome back to Evil's Comics. I'm Evil Mike, and this is going to be my part 2 video on the reviews on comics that were released August 4th, 2021. I'm going to be a little late because my comics were a little late. This should be my last video. Of course, tomorrow is a new comic book day here in Houston for DC. And I try and get these reviews done before, like, this is kind of like my last day that I like getting the reviews out, so I can start the next week. But I mean, there was just holdback on a lot of things. My comics being late, I wasn't able to get all them until, really it was like a 2-day thing because I had to get in my box. I had some, but they had missed some, so I had to wait until the next day and pick up some more. But enough of my excuses. First off, I do put time codes down below. I'm all for skipping. If you're not interested in any of these comics, and there's one that you are, and the time codes, feel free to skip ahead. You might miss some banter or something, but nothing really important. So first up, this is Marvel's Comics Extreme Carnage Part 4 out of 8, I think. Yes, Part 4 out of 8. This is Lasher number 1. It was a really good issue. They do, in the very beginning, they catch you up with the, like, kind of what's going on. It's very basic, like, hey, this is Venom and this is Carnage, and but it's kind of like a basic bio. But we are still in the events at that facility where, in the previous 2 issues with Scream and Anti-Venom, and of course, I think it was, I'm trying to remember who was before this. I'm drawing a blank at his name. But they are fighting one of the other symbiotes. That Carnage has deemed Andy Benton, the one that was attached to Scream, a traitor to the host, and they are trying to kill her because she, like, instead of letting Scream, side with Carnage, because Carnage is pulling back all the symbiotes back to him, trying to call them. Andy Bennett killed, basically the remnants of Scream left. She burned it with her Hellfire. Now there are some, DNA strands of Scream left, and we know if anything is left behind, there's still, they can still come back. But at this facility specifically, they were taking DNA, and they were trying to cure her of the symbiosis link, and they did take some specimens. So basically, we just got Anti-Venom, Flash Thompson, trying to save, Andy Benton. She's not done out of the fight, even though, I mean, she was stabbed, through the gut. But we also see that Lasher is being activated, just like the previous 2. He is hearing the call of Carnage through the Senator's ads on TV. We meet him at it's a individual at a old folks home that is on his last days, and Lasher picks him. They do this whole, like, where because the host is connected with the symbiote, but we get this whole, like, where Lasher is in this old man's head, and I don't even think we ever get a name to the old man. If not, I already forgot it. Bad with names. But during this whole, like, because it's basically 2 scenes. It's basically like, Anti-Venom trying to save Andy and kind of, take fight off the other symbiote that's there. And at the other moment, we have this whole, like, psych trip where it's the symbiotes talking to this older man that Lasher has been, has now bonded with. Carnage is in the mix there because he is already, like, I guess in Lasher's head, he's already, like, mixed in with the DNA. So Carnage is totally, like, tricking this guy into believing that he's going to let him see his family and stuff like that, even though he should know, but his family's been dead or is dead or something like that. But he just doesn't remember because his mind is already gone due to old age. I will say that, like, I mean, like, specifically right here, Lasher is a lot like Carnage. I mean, he's known for having massive tentacles. I mean, hence Lasher. But I mean, every person he meets is like stick, and they did, and of course, this is Carnage mixed with Lasher, so that's why that's there. But Lasher is just kind of on this rampage, and Carnage tells him that he needs to, you know, hook up with the other symbiote to finish Andy off. We do finally get where Flash kind of comes up with the idea of taking Andy to save her life to where the Scream symbiote, you know, DNA is being held, and she does mix, and it does heal, and she becomes not Scream this time, but she becomes Silence. I mean, we do get a lot of character reveals and costume change. Honestly, I love this. And some of her taglines, like right here, it's like, shh, no more screams, no more pain. Do you hear that? All is quiet, all is silence, you know. They came up with some really good taglines for her, and it's not just like one or two. There's like 5 or 6 in this book, and they're all pretty decently wrote. But we do see, like, you know, Lasher getting closer to catching up with them. And the third part of the story is a very background, but we see Flash's son. I think it's Flash's son, but this is Toxin, and he is one of the more powerful symbiotes. And it looks like he is jumping into action to go help out his dad, because his dad, you know, now all this is kind of on the news. Through all this now, with Scream there, they are fighting the other symbiote, and Scream quickly just, I mean, takes this guy out and gives us, you know, one of our classic taglines. Right here, whatever she had done, it looks like she had almost killed the host inside, man, I'm drawing a blank at his name. I want to say it's Riot. I don't know why I keep coming to Riot. I think Riot's the next issue. But again, bad with name, guys. But basically, he does have to, like, he has to leave so bad, and it looks like she was successful in killing the host, because right here it shows this other symbiote going to like a junkyard dog. So we will find out what happens with that. They do show that Lasher is finally catching up to where Carnage was leading him, and it wasn't to the facility, it was to this other side, and of course to meet Carnage and tag team up with him. They do show that as soon as he gets there, that his host is dropped, and it's revealed that like, even after you die, your mind is still going on. So Carnage is in this guy's head, and he's still messing with him even though the guy's dead, which is pretty messed up. Love it. But they kind of give us a hint at, you know, the next thing to come, you know, and that's basically it for this issue. It was a really good issue, very action packed, and the introduction of Scream, I really loved it. Next up, another Marvel Comics, we have Spirits of Vengeance, Spirit Rider #1. Side note, it is written by Taboo from Black Eyed Peas, which was really cool for me. I always enjoyed the Black Eyed Peas, their music. Not the whole stuff around them, but I did like that, you know. It does give you a really good catch-up, because I will say I was fooled. I thought this was the first appearance of this new Ghost Rider. Nope, she's been around for a while. She came out in a book called Doctor Strange and the Sorcerer Supreme, and it is shown, like, highlighted twice in the book, like, hey, you can go catch these trade paperbacks and catch up with this girl's journey. So it is not her first appearance, but this is her first solo book, and there is a major first appearance at the very end, and in my opinion, I think it's going to be a bigger one in the future, just not right now. We do catch up with, and I'm going to have to wait until I can see her name, but right here in the beginning we see the current Ghost Rider, and I think this might be Johnny Blaze. I don't remember which one it is. But it is the current Ghost Rider, and it is Johnny Blaze. Looks like, here's Johnny. But he is wrecking up New York City, and supposedly the whole deal is he's being possessed by another demon that's with his demon, because if you know Ghost Rider, he has a demon symbiote attached to him, thus giving him the powers of the Ghost Rider, a deal he made with the devil long ago with Mephisto. But basically, Ghost Rider is a hero, but they show him kind of, you know, destroying, you know, Manhattan right here, and it is found out later on that he was kind of asleep and he didn't know what was going on. They do catch up with, and they do say her name. I think they call her Kushala, but that is not her name. Her name is long. Maybe it is just Kushala. I don't. I'm really bad with name, guys. But so we do meet like Kushala, if that's her real name. If it's not, I apologize. But we meet Kushala, and she's having like friends, like lunch with her friends. And Doctor Strange shows up, and he's like, and he shows up with Johnny, and he's like, "Hey, have y'all met?" And he's like, "Yeah, we've met." And they are both Ghost Riders. So they kind of like. They kind of do the spill where Doctor Strange fills her in about how he, fell asleep and supposedly started wreaking havoc on Manhattan. They do this thing where they go into more of her background and what kind of Ghost Rider is. They never show her what she rides, but I think from the name I kind of gathered that her vehicle is more of the spirit variety. She doesn't ride a horse or a car. She rides spirits. They show specifically because right here she teleports. Basically back to where she is from, and it has ties to her demon and Johnny's demon. They find out that both of their demons are linked, both of their Ghost Riders, in like a weird twist of fate somehow through her origin, because she is a lot older than Johnny. She's from yeah, of course, the American Indian War era. But they kind of go into they after they go through that portal, they show you that she can travel through, like, she can go into his mind, but not only that, but she can take her body with her, which is kind of different from a lot of other people. They do travel with Johnny into Johnny's mind. It's this whole thing where they're going to, like, his origin story and like, kind of what made him who he is, and of course, that's his father dying. They do show you, and she mentions it a lot, that it's going to be a trap, that whoever this bad demon is, that it's in here, and eventually the trap is kind of sprung. Eventually, like, they think it's going to go after Johnny, and it really does not. It goes after Kushala, the spirit rider, and she kind of is taken back by that for a little bit. She doesn't understand why it's specifically going after her, but she does kind of know in the background that it has some ties with the two demons being tied together. They go through like different worlds, that was like a test, and they go to another part of his mind, and it's another test, and the second test for him sucks because it's all about, family and what could have been if he wouldn't have done what he did, if he wouldn't have died and resurrected at the Ghost Rider type thing, and Johnny kind of gets stuck, and it starts out this whole like, well, you're not gonna take, Johnny was ready to just chill here with his family and his mind. Of course, it's all like a trap from this other thing that we have not seen yet, but Johnny is kind of easily trapped. He ends up like fighting his demons after us, like at the end of it, the spirits of vengeance. And she is kind of teleported to another part of his mind, and now it's kind of like some of her mind mixed in. And they kind of go back to her origin story, and her whole people and everything was massacred by the American soldiers at that time, and eventually she gained the power of the Ghost Rider, and she came back and got vengeance from, on those who killed her family. She was the last of her kind. They do show this it's like a slate from her people or something like that. I forget it. It's like a headstone or something like that, but it has like, it's the creature at the top that means something, and he's at the bottom, and it's basically, the creature's name is Leviathan. As soon as she kind of realizes that headstone was about this creature, and they kind of she realized that he's been there all along, and he is like and this is a first appearance, but this is like a major, like, worldly, kind of, because he is known as a god, and he is like, I'm the rage of a dead world, and and he has this whole speech and blah blah blah. At this moment, they end up fighting, and she realizes, like, trying to fight him with the powers that he gave her, because he gave her the powers of the spirits of vengeance, that it's just not working. And she uses, like, she basically, like, she kind of has this vision with her mom, and she uses, like, she kind of completes herself as one. She realizes that the missing piece of the totem was like her family and her faith and what she had lost after the vengeance moment, and after becoming like this one, like, being, like, Leviathan just kind of like shrinks down to nothing because she's not scared. He has no power in her mind, kind of thing, and he shrinks down to this little bitty, like, lizard, and basically she eats him. She literally, like, and he's all afraid because at this time he was going to be like this big bad thing. but she eats him, and now not only is she a sorcerer supreme because she is one of Doctor Strange's students, but she has the power of the Ghost Rider as well, and whatever the power she just got from this Leviathan thing. So, and at the very end, she does take up the moniker Spirit Rider. So, because it wasn't something they called her in the beginning. Overall, it's a really great book, a really good read, a really good catch-up of this character. If you're not familiar with her, of course, you can pick up those trade paperbacks, but man, what an amazing book. Next up, Crushing Lobo. Of course, with the homage to Lobo's back in the 80s, a comic that I do own. I love Lobo. But this is 3 of 8, and this is basically the main meat of the story. Finally, Lobo's been in jail. He's asking to see his daughter for some reason. Crush has finally made it to Lobo's prison, and that's basically where this one takes off. They do state this little, it's kind of like a running gag to the thing about this Mantis guy and how he comes from because they're doing like a psychological therapy session here where they're supposed to be talking about their feelings, and this guy is like goes into this whole like, well, I'm a mantis, and everybody in my family and all my friends, they just eat heads. Like, I mean, I ate my wife's head when she was born, I ate most of my kids, but this is supposed to be like Father, Son, Daughter Day or something like that, where you bring your kids to the prison to see you, and that's why Crush is here, and we're getting to see the Mantis kid, his son too. And the other guy keeps mentioning how like all the sons, like one of the sons eventually come back and eat your head. There is some like, just kind of crush in her head, and she does end up meeting this Mantis guy's, son, and it's kind of funny because she dozes off and he's over here trying to eat her head, and she wakes up right at the right moment, and she finally gets called to go see Lobo, and we finally get to see Lobo and Crush face to face, and he goes in to tell her that he never gave psychology any mention. He thought it was all hocus pocus and blah blah blah, and now that he's stuck in the prison and they're forcing him to do it, he's kind of been using it, and then supposedly he's changed his ways and yada yada yada. He wants to be this friendlier version of Lobo. They kind of go into this whole thing where the prison is set up on DNA scans and stuff like that. I knew exactly, once they started going to that, I knew exactly where it was going, because if you know Lobo, I mean, some of his powers are DNA kind of mixed. He can make clones of himself just by dropping blood, that kind of stuff. So I kind of had an idea, but it's really clever. But he's basically like, he wants to like reconnect with Crush, and that's what he's telling her, and he does this whole like sob and dance story, and then that's exactly what it is, because like the whole thing, and you can see right here, he's trying to get her to touch, and eventually he does touch her, and in the process he switches their DNA, and how they track the DNA in this prison is in their fingertips, and somehow he has figured out how to move his fingertips to hers and take hers instantly. She wants to go get some snacks and stuff, and they're supposed to continue talking. They're gonna go to a therapy session themselves. And as she gets up and leaves, so does Lobo, and you can see he just kind of walks out the gate, because now they think he's Crush, and guess what? Crush is now Lobo, because she's going to get snacks, and of course, now that she's Lobo, she's in an area that she's not supposed to be, and they just come after her. Now, they are all robots and AI, so they don't know the difference. They're looking at the DNA. So the rest of the book is just, Crush trying to defend herself, trying to figure out what happened, and at the moment just really defend herself. But eventually, like after they get it, because they do detain her, and she does realize what Lobo did. The whole time Lobo's just kind of walking out of the prison like nothing. He picks up all his effects, walks through all the, says hi to all the guards, And at the same time, this is when Crush is revealing that she realized what Lobo did, and her mistake behind all of it. And basically at the very last end, they put her in her jail cell. We do see that the other Mantis guy the kid was successful in eating his father's head. So of course, now that he committed the crime, he's in jail, where his father would have been, and he's actually roommates with Crush, and that's exactly where this book leaves off. Really good read. I'm really, really curious to see where the story goes now that Lobo is out and Crush is in. It's more on the comedic side, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with comedy sometimes. There's really good stories in comedy. Um, Next up from Boom Studios is this Basilisk, Chapter 3. Colin Bunn book. Colin Bunn is kind of a little bit of everywhere. Um, Basically, this book is set up on, like, I think it's 5 individuals that were tested on, and eventually somehow they escaped. When they escape, they do have powers. It's all sense-based powers: touch, feel, sight. The main one we kind of stick with, hers, is sight. But right here, the guy's is taste, and that we'll get into it. And the little girl, I'm always kind of confused on what she does, but I mean, they do show you what she does, but I'm not sure which sensation she's supposed to be. Still cool nonetheless. But when they do escape, I mean, it's kind of like what you think. They were prisoners. They were tested on and scientifically poked and prodded. So when they get out, it was kind of like they used their powers for, like, the word. I mean, they killed, and it's kind of expressed that they didn't even really know that they were killing, because some of their powers are kind of like, I mean, you could see why it'd be an accident, but they do like a flashback of that night, and it's because it's with the main character and her family. Like, it's the one that is kidnapped, one of the members of that group, and she's remembering, like, that situation where her family died. She lost her daughter and her husband, and a bunch of people died at that original massacre. Now, since then, it is not the only massacre, because that group has stayed uncaptive, and they've been wreaking havoc in the world, like, wherever they go. They catch up with this. This is like the end of the second issue, and it's the beginning of the third one. But this is the girl that's having the flashback. I'm drawing a blank at her name, but she has kidnapped one of the group, and that's the one with the sense powers. They show her here. She's the one off the covers with the hoodie, but shown right here with the blue veil, and she covers up her eyes because her eyes are the power. Like, if she sees you, you're dead, kind of thing. This whole part right here is just a setup on a trap. They are luring the other members, so this girl right here can kill the other members and get her revenge. She never states what she's planning to do with this girl, but they're kind of like slowly becoming weird friends, even though it's like captive. But the girl with the veil is kind of on par with the trap plan. She's not a big fan of the other group members. They do show you right here, and the little girl, this white-haired girl right here, this is their leader. But they do show you that they are in pursuit. They're just taking, like, little breaks as they go. They manage to stop at this, like, rest stop and stuff, and it's just this whole, like, they're not allowed to kill type thing. They go in there and they're supposed to be just getting snacks and stuff. The little girl that's shown right here with the powers, I don't exactly know what it is, but they do show that she's outside and with some kids getting some snacks and stuff, and the cops show up. Someone had tipped them off that, hey, these killers are here, so the cops show up, and some cool art there. But the leader shows one of her powers, and she kind of just blows like breath, and it kind of just, I mean, everything it touches, it like disintegrates. I don't know, there's a lot of things that are left unsaid in this, but you can see in the 2 panels right there, it's like that when this thing does touch you, it's just basically, you start corroding off. They do show you this other guy's, his power is taste, and he takes a bullet on purpose, and when he takes that bullet on purpose, he licks the blood, and everybody that he sees all of a sudden has a like extreme taste for blood. And they even show you that the other cops that are not injured, they start attacking the other cops like zombies, and they're even this guy that he doesn't have anybody to attack, he's eating himself, kind of thing. They do show some the other member that was with him is this guy in the cowboy hat, and he I guess he would be sound because he whistles, and it basically blows everybody's eardrums. This is that little girl's power, and they've shown it before, but it's these little green flecks or whatever, and the green flecks basically touch you, and it's like you pass out and kind of die type of thing. That's why I don't know what her sense is supposed to be. because they just show it's like little light flecks, and if they touch it, you die, kind of thing. But they do show you that that the little girl took out the helicopter, and that's like the last of the cops. So they are back on their journey to go find, and I think her name is Andrea, but that's the girl in the blue veil. But they show back here that they are, setting up the trap, that the girl that the girl in the veil, she is able to talk to the guy that has these sound powers. He calls it whispering or something like that, and he can whisper like where she can hear him from miles and miles away. And he has been kind of giving her tips and this and that. They go into this whole thing about like how they always leave. She tells a story about how the group always leaves at least one person alive, so they can like run and tell the story, but also so they can follow him. And they do show at the very end with this cop right here that one of the cops was left alive out of that situation. And basically somebody comes along and he's like, yeah, well, they were gods, are you going to follow them, type thing. And they do show you that with that group, they have like a little of a following. Last but not least, this is DC's Nice House on the Lake, James Tynion, book number 3. This is basically like, it's a post-apocalyptic world. It's Walter, and he took like, I think it's 15 friends or 12 friends or something like that, and he put them all in a house. The rest of the world has died in some kind of catalytic event. They are all safe. They don't know why they're there, and that is basically the first 2 issues. That there is like a perimeter around the area. They can't leave. They are fully stocked, and everything like magically appears. But this is basically following the story of one of the persons that's there, and it's this whole story about Sam and his kind of his meeting with Walter, the one who brought him there, and like they do more of this text and script read. In this book, it was a lot easier to read. It kind of added more to one of the cool spreads. It does add more to the story, but basically it's this whole like kind of like where the whole house is kind of like tired of trying to figure out what's going on, and they just want to take a break, and they're chilling. Sam, on the other hand, is not one of them type of people. He has been put in a situation, and he is trying to figure the fuck out of that situation. So he is like, how dare y'all for like playing and stuff like that. They go on this thing where like, he goes on this like adventure where he's trying to figure out everything he can about the house. Like he starts mapping out the perimeter. He starts like literally, he starts touching, because there's like an invisible barrier around the whole thing. But he literally starts mapping out and trying to figure out what all the statues are. And I love this part, like, because it's leading more into the whole mystery. Some of his writings and drawings, they are kind of clues on what's coming. But basically at the very end of this, he does find this weird like kind of sectioned out in the woods, whatever, that they didn't know about, and it has this, and then there's at the very top, there's like this like, I think it's like a black house. Hold on, I'll have to show you. But it's kind of like a black house that's behind it. It is right here, like a artistic black house. I don't think he can, I presume that's where Walter is staying. They do show you that this whole time that Walter has been watching him, and they kind of show in artistic type of ways that he's been in the background and he's been following Sam type thing. At one point, Sam is just tired of this. He's like, fuck, man, just talk to me, and ask me what the hell is going wrong, what is going on. But they do show you that even though he can't see him, that Walter was there watching him, listening to him, that kind of thing. And that is basically the sum up of the third book. At the end, Sam gets picked up by his friends, and he goes back to the nice house on the lake. In my honest opinion, so far this is one of James Tynion's weaker books, but I have a feeling, because James Tynion is a good writer, that like once we get all the books, it's going to be this massive story with all kind of clues and stuff that we missed, kind of thing. So for one, I'm not a big fan of the art. I wish it wasn't so artistic. There's a lot of things that are left unknown, and I'm not a big fan of that. I get the whole use of it, but I am running out of time. That is my reviews. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know how I'm doing. Did you pick up any of these books? But it's not that Nice House was a bad read. I actually like this read a lot better than the second one. The first and the third so far were the really good ones. Alright guys, that's all I got. I will have more reviews. I got to get right back to reading. I'm going to try and get all these done before I can. Alright, love you. Bye.